Welcome in to the latest episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast, presented by the Bet and Pitch Podcast Network. It is late night into Sunday morning here in Dallas, Texas. At Big East Ben is joining me from his crotch cam. Now he's left the shot, but I think he's still here. He said we're going rapid fire. It looks like he has pants on, unlike Adam Aaron, the AMC CEO. How are we doing? How have the games treated you today?
Doing good. Favorites rolled today. We cleaned up. We kept the gravy train rolling. Gonzaga, Kansas. That was a joke. Um, what a crazy Oregon Creighton game.
Ouch.
Oakland. Yeah, tell you, Oakland 5 takers. Sorry,
Oregon +5. How'd that feel? Not great.
not great. Anyway, I got to go. Look, here's the thing. You got to get it in control.
I'm in
We
control.
we can't listen. Everyone loves monogamous Big East Ben. He's been on a tear. So to maintain that, we have to quickly go rapid fire through these picks
Okay.
because Big East Ben's wife has been very patient, has been with me since halftime of uh, Gonzaga, Kansas. She's a little b-balled out, so we kind of got to make this quick. So let's go through the games. I've been thinking about these all day. I have a very high degree of conviction. So I'm sorry I can't explain it more, but this board is very, very, very clear.
Okay, we'll start and we'll go in rotation order. We'll start with Northwestern against Connecticut, the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. This is not the first game on the list, but it's in order of rotation. Connecticut opened 13.5-point favorites, climbed to 14. Total was 135.5 at open, now 136.
Store South is going to be rocking. Northwestern does not have enough bodies. They just went through that war against Florida Atlantic. Great for them. But this is one person fighting another person, and the other person is one arm tied behind their back. Not enough bodies. I know it's a big spread. Back UConn.
So I'm tempted to back Chris Collins here because I mean I was very nervous about FAU and picking them in all my brackets, taking them in a four-man pool. I think I got them in one of them at the first pick of the eight seeds. Um, And Northwestern, I mean, you could argue that FAU kind of choked down the stretch, but Northwestern had a big lead, especially an underdog that was deserved that they covered the spread. I think they have some ability to bother Connecticut, but they are very undermanned. I think I'll play under 136 because Northwestern is going to try to play a really slow game to try to keep this as close as possible. I guess I'd be more interested in Northwestern getting 14 than laying 14 on Connecticut, but I'm not really trying to fade UConn at this point. At least until I feel like they have a worthy adversary. I'm not sure Northwestern will be that. But I do think there's a good chance that this is a low scoring game if Northwestern plays well. And if they don't play well, I think it's low scoring because Northwestern do not score very well. Move next to James Madison against Duke, also in the Barclays Center. This is a little bit before Northwestern, the game before Northwestern and Connecticut. We have Duke opening a 7.5-point favorite down to 7 at BetOnline. If you're not a member at BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag, please follow links found in the podcast description on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, plus on YouTube. And you can go get free money from those casinos. BetOnline, Sportsbetting.ag, wherever you don't have an account, go make one and they'll give you free cash as long as you follow the links in the descriptions. So Duke down to 7-point favorite. Total is 149. It opens down to 148.5 at present.
I like James Madison. They proved their mettle against Wisconsin. Cover that 5-point spread was never a doubt. I was not blown away by Duke's performance against Vermont, even though they did cover the 12.5. Let a very wounded Vermont team just stay in it for way too long. I think JMU has the athletes to compete. I don't think that number is respectful of the Dukes. I'm taking JMU.
The Duke number is not respectful of the Dukes. I agree. I'd take James Madison +7. I think there's a decent chance that they win this game straight up. We'll move next to
Agree.
Colorado against Marquette at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indianapolis, Indiana. I was almost going to say Indianapolis, Minnesota. That's not a state. The spread open. Marquette a 4-point favorite. It's still there, but it's juiced and looks like it's heading towards 4.5. Total 146.5 has climbed to 147.5 as we speak. I see you can't stop Jop. ET phone
We're
home.
getting a David.
DJ
We're
phone home.
getting a David Joplin game. Hey, come in, come in. We're getting a David Joplin game.
Hello, what does a David Joplin game mean to you, operator?
Uh, five
Joperator.
threes, five triples, Twenty
Triple.
20 points. Kolek does his thing. Cam Jones chips in. Oso's got to figure it out, but it's going to be interesting how he's going to put Eddie Lampkin in a blender. I truly believe that. Marquette minus 4.5. My pick.
Okay, so you think Osadaro or Osa Ighodaro is going to stop a girthy Eddie Lampkin on the interior? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I think he's going to get him in foul trouble.
I mean that would be a big concern for Colorado. I'm not really sure they have a lot of depth behind behind Eddie Lampkin at this point. Um, I have not really had a ton of success fading Marquette this season, I will admit, but I will do it here.
Do it.
I'll take Colorado, that 4.5 point underdog.
Perfect.
Not a great sign for Colorado backers, I guess. But I mean, I did win their first 4 game pretty recently, and at least won maybe 2 games in the Pac-12 tournament. I just feel like Colorado. I mean, them moving to a favorite at the close against Florida was I think telling. They had to fight a war, which does worry me about a little bit about their energy levels for this game. But I don't think you can dismiss the fact that Marquette was in a very serious game with Western Kentucky. One that I remember won at Big East Bend. Not concerned, not concerned. Okay, I'm concerned. So, how do you think that impacts this matchups, or do you not think it impacts at all?
Well, I mean, you got to remember they were playing with the lineup in the first half that they had gone 6 games without playing with. Okay, like they hadn't played together for over 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
First half is going to be a little rusty. Yes, they lost by 7. You know what they did in the second half, Griffin?
What
They
did they do in the
outscored
second
Western
half?
Kentucky by 25 points. 25 points. That's the team that's coming tomorrow. That's what I believe.
In the interest of time, we'll keep going to the next game, or yeah, the game that follows is to be the second game of the day. Colorado Marquette is actually opening us up at 11:10 Central Time. We'll go to Utah State and Purdue. Open 10.5 point favorite. Did Purdue? They're now 11.5 point favorites, so money coming in on the favorite there. Total is 149 and has stayed there throughout.
It's Utah State. Osabor's legit. The team has like a very free flowing, ball moving offense. I was extremely impressed against TCU. Everyone was picking TCU in that game, Griffin. All the analytics was picking TCU. All the Big 12 supporters taking TCU. Utah State absolutely rolled them.
You know who didn't
That
pick
offense is
TCU?
crisp. Danny Sprinkle's legit. I'm going Utah State.
You know who didn't pick TCU in that first round?
Me and you.
It was a really nice run, I think. I'm a little bit concerned about Utah State away from home, though they maybe answered some of those questions, though I think they were playing a pretty limited TCU offense. I think that helped to make anyone look good. But TCU started really well. I was sitting next to some literal like 22-year-olds fresh out of TCU fraternity brothers that were just like literally all talking about how their phone was on airplane mode, just trying to save battery. It was like, dude, it's 4:30. There's still 8 hours left of this day, and God forbid if Oregon goes to double overtime. But they were pretty pumped and we're off to a really good start. Recapping the game, they're like TCU started really well, and Utah State really just shoved it in them since then. I think Great Osabor is a big concern for me guarding Zach Edey because 6'8" Great Osabor, despite all the length and all whatever things, Zach Edey is a monster. And I do feel if Zach Edey puts Great Osabor in foul trouble, that's a big, big problem for Utah State. However, I think Purdue is still limited. I think they are really good against a Big Ten conference that is built the same way with unathletic teams that really aren't very capable. We've seen that in this tournament and tournaments of the years past. So I'll take Utah State an 11.5 point underdog and hope that they keep it close. We'll move next to Clemson against Baylor in the FedEx Forum, formerly the Pyramid, but I think new building in Memphis. Open Baylor a 4.5 point favorite, still there. Total is 145, and that's also the same.
I like Baylor minus 4.5. Clemson got a joke of New Mexico team. This Baylor is polished New Mexico. Like they ran Colgate out of the gym. They know they are balanced. I know we were wrong in New Mexico, but I like Baylor here in the spot. I still think Clemson is completely overseeded, overrated, and the product of a weak conference.
Ooh, don't say that too loud. Someone might hear you.
Is he in Nashville, Tennessee, and his name's Davis Rand, and he wears 3XL t-shirts?
I thought they were double X, but maybe they're 3X. I mean, he's just trying to make sure that no one is able to see his chiseled abs. So I'll give the Baylor Bear the 4.5 point favorite as well. I don't really think that Clemson. I mean, it's weird for me to be against Clemson, especially 2 games in a row after they had a pretty dominant effort as a home or whatever, as a higher seeded underdog, not a home underdog, because these are all neutral sites. But I think Clemson is the side I would want in the spot, but I think 4.5 is too small. I think that's too close for, especially after watching an Oregon team that should have won in regulation, should have covered the spread in both overtimes, or the first overtime, and then literally go give up a 13-0 run. At this point, if you're not winning, I don't know how you're covering. So 4.5 is too short for Clemson. I don't think is going to win this game. Texas A&M and Houston, a battle of Houston or Houston area teams, but they're a couple states away in Memphis. Looks like Houston opened a 10-point favorite, still there. Total is 132.5 points at open, and it's climbed to 134.5.
Griffin, you remember in the preseason when like Texas A&M was pretty close to Houston in the rankings?
I do.
And do you remember when Texas A&M played Houston, only lost by I think 4 points?
I don't remember that. They played already this year, did they?
They did. They did. I think so. Can we look that up? Shit.
You mean, can I look that up? Yes, I'll look it up. 1 second. I'll have it in a moment.
No,
Texas
they did play
A&M.
this year.
Texas A&M and Houston. They lost by 4 points on a neutral. Good point.
There we go. Okay. Obviously, Texas A&M did not live up to expectations this year. I've railed against their offense. Dude, this offense is clicking. Like, Wade Taylor IV has the boys playing. Coleman's amazing. Radford's amazing. They totally dismantled Nebraska. They are and with their defense, with their like grind out style, they are very close to Houston's level. I would not be surprised if Buzz wins this game.
And therefore 10 points. You want a double digit spread here?
Yep.
So you're not sold by Houston shellacking a phallic referenced team. Is that what you're telling me?
I didn't watch any of that game. I watched the Texas A&M Nebraska game. Houston is susceptible. If they can play their own, if Buzz can get the guys to play Houston style, with the way that offense is going, it's so disrespectful to Texas A&M to make this double digits.
Yeah.
Texas A&M has been playing at like a 3 seed level, like what they should have been at the beginning of the season.
So your pick on this game is
I'm picked. I'll take the 10.5. Thank you.
just 10, but I'll take it as well.
10. I'll take the 10. Yep.
I'm also going to play money line. So Yale against San Diego State and I'm not really a money line player to tie that little knot. I think this game is incredibly lined. I think it's double what it should be, and I will back Texas A&M. I mean, if they shoot well, like they did against Nebraska, very different defense, of course, and very different situation. But if they shoot that well, they can win that game. If they don't shoot well, I think they can win that game. I think Texas A&M will target a Houston team that gives up a ton of offensive rebounds, which you wouldn't expect from a physical Kelvin Sampson type squad. And I'm still not a believer that Juwan Roberts is healthy. I saw him get injured, and I saw him limp for multiple games. And I don't think one win over Longwood will do enough to change that opinion. And I don't know that I've been this far off on a point spread in March in a very long time. So
Right.
give me that 10. Yale and San Diego State, Spokane Arena in Spokane, Washington. looks like San Diego State opened a 6-point favorite down to 5.5. Total is 129 at opens down to 128.5 points.
I like Yale. I think Yale's a better team. I think Wolf takes care of the D. San Diego State was lucky to get by UAB, pulling away with free throws at the end there. Yale's a more balanced team. Sweet 16, Ivy League.
So I really liked Yale. I was hoping they would grab and face Baylor in that first round so I could pick them to win their game. They ended up getting Auburn, a much harder draw, yet they kind of came from the dead, came back and won that game. I don't know that Poulikitis is going to be able to put forth the same type of effort. I don't think that Danny Wolf is as simple of a matchup as you're suggesting against Jalen Ledee. But I do like that Wolf is a lot longer. And ultimately, Jaden Ledee loves and is really good at, but he takes long twos, which is really not the mathematical solution to winning basketball games in the year of our Lord 2024. Give me 5.5 points on Yale as well. Move next to Grand Canyon. This looks like the last game on our slate for an abbreviated episode. Moving into Sunday, March 24th. Grand Canyon, a 5.5 point favorite or 5.5 point underdog, excuse me, against Alabama at open. Now Alabama a 6 point favorite at the current number. Total was 168.5 at open. It's now 169. Nice.
I'm not going against Alabama. That offense is too hot. It's too short of a line. Sorry, Grand Canyon. Played well in the opener, but too much firepower here. You're not facing St. Mary's. It's the total opposite look. They're going to get blitz out of the gym. Alabama.
All right, I'm going to take over 169 points because I do love 169. And I feel like Grand Canyon hangs in this game. I think 6 is small enough that it's really hard to cover if they lose this game. But I do think Grand Canyon will be in it for a while. We'll see how long they hang. And I feel like Alabama against Charleston, different opponent and very different levels or classes maybe. But that game seemed very close to me. And then all of a sudden I looked up again and it was like a 22-point differential. So I
I
think
also messed the pull away
like
by Alabama.
maybe okay, so maybe it wasn't just me, but I remember I was like that was not my main focus 2 nights ago, but and definitely I was drinking while watching, but which can certainly turn some heads, we'll say the least, but I'm just not really
No, because it was during the Auburn Yale game, so that's why we missed it.
no, it wasn't.
Was it during the Kentucky Oakland game? Maybe.
So that was Thursday night. Friday, Yale and San Diego State was at so Yale Auburn was going on during Colorado and Florida. I think it was at the
Yeah,
when I was watching James Madison, I believe was when Grand Canyon was playing. But all things run together. Time is a continuum or a simulation, as some famous people that like to have 12 kids through 12
yeah.
different women
Yale
say.
Auburn and yeah, Yale Auburn and Colorado Florida were going on at the same time because I was watching both those games.
Right. Those are only two on. It was later in the
Yeah,
night. The other one was playing, but regardless, who cares? It's all semantics. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/the_real_G Warner. Best play spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything you can want across this college basketball slate. Thank you for the supporters on pregame as well. Thank you for being there with me as long as you have. There are specials going out for Major League Baseball full season. Go check out pregame.com/Griffin Warner. Um, Other things we need to talk about. I guess we'll get ready for a Thursday episode with the NCAA tournament returning in just a few days. I don't expect we'll do anything for the NIT, but I know Ben has been really studying up on that and the CBI and the CIT and whatever hell other whatever tournaments they've been playing. But in the interest of keeping monogamous Ben at Big East Ben monogamous, do you have a best bet for us for this episode?
Diego.
Gigum. For those unfamiliar, that means that Big East Bend is grabbing Texas A&M, a 10-point underdog against Houston. And to me, a pretty banged up Houston. And to me, it's one of those weird things where this is not something we do very often, not something I like to do. I don't think there's a better pick out there. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Texas A&M, a 10-point underdog as
Double best bet, first one
we're
ever.
double best betting. And honestly, I think there's some Danny Sprinkle on the money line here. I think is a reasonable idea. So go grab at Big East Ben's Texas A&M +10. Go grab the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Texas A&M +10. And if you have a little bit more interest in potentially, I don't know, making this month's rent or literally paying off some bills, go throw some Texas A&M money line out there as well, which should be in like a probably 2.5 to 1 type of range is my guess. Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
way higher, 4 to 1 odds, even better. Go
Grab
throw
it.
on there. You might not even need the +10. Maybe grab the +10 in case there's some crazy buzzer beater that Houston hits to then give us some more opportunities to fade them going forward. So at Big East Ben said Texas A&M +10, at the real underscore G Warner said Texas A&M +10. And we will see you all on Wednesday or sometime this week as we prepare for Thursday NCAA tournament week 2 for the Sweet 16.
Gig 'em.